In order to install the tools that I told you about, we need Node. Now, at this point, you don't need to know how Node works because we're not going to program in Node. All we need is a tool that comes with Node called Node Package Manager, or NPM. You probably know this, but I want to make sure to explain it very briefly for students who are not familiar with NPM. So NPM is a tool that we use to install third-party libraries and tools. So if you haven't installed Node on your machine, head over to nodejs.org and on the homepage, download the latest stable version and install it. When you're done, open up the command prompt or terminal and run node-v to make sure you have installed Node properly. Now for this demo, I'm going to create a new folder. Let's call that es6-tooling. Let's go in this folder. The first thing we need to do is to initialize a Node project in this folder. To do that, we run npm init-yes. What this command does is it creates a file in this folder called package.json, which is an identification for our application. Here we have properties like name, version, description, and so on. Now we're ready to install Babel. So npm I, as in short for install, there are 3 packages that we need to install. So I want you to pay great attention here. Make sure you get the spelling right, as well as the version number. Because chances are, in the future, when you're watching this video, the latest version might be different and it might behave differently. So make sure to install the same version that I'm installing in this video. So the first package is Babel-CLI. We add @ to specify the version number. The version I'm going to install is 6.26.0. Now the second package is Babel-core and its version is 6.26.0. And the last one is Babel-preset-env and the version is 1.6.1. Now let me quickly explain what each of these packages are. So Babel CLI is Babel's command line interface. It's the tool that we run from the command line, like npm. So we run it from the command line and give it the name of our JavaScript file, and then it will convert or compile that JavaScript code. The second package, Babel-core, is basically the core of Babel, where all the logic for transpiling code is implemented. And finally, we have Babel preset. What is this? Well, in Babel, we have a plugin for every new JavaScript feature starting from ES6. So let's say you want to use let and const in ES6, there's a plugin for that. You want to use arrow functions in ES6, there's a plugin for that. So every new feature in ES6 and newer versions has a corresponding plugin. Now, let's say in your application, you want to use only 2 of these new features. So you can install only those 2 plugins. But if you want to have more flexibility, you can install this preset. And this preset is basically the combination of all these plugins. So it understands all the new features in JavaScript starting from ES6. Now, finally, we need to supply a flag here, --save-dev. And this means we're going to install these as development dependencies. So they are not going to be part of our application. They're not going to be deployed to the production. They're purely on the development machine. Let's go ahead. All right, we're done. Now let's open up Visual Studio Code. So in this folder, we have this package.json and package-log.json, which is used internally by NPM. And we have this node modules folder where all these packages that we installed are stored. Now there are more folders here than what we installed. These are the dependencies of those packages. So you don't have to worry about any of this. Now I'm going to add a new file here, index.js, and write some basic ES6 code. So let's define a constant x and set it to 1. All right, now we want to use Babel to convert this to code that all browsers can understand. The first thing we need to do is to go to package.json. Here in the script section, delete what we have here for test. Don't worry about this. We're going to add a new script. And I'll tell you how that works in a second. We call this Babel and set this to a command that will run in terminal. So the command we're going to run is like this: Babel That's Babel's command line interface that we run from the terminal. Then we add -- presets. The preset we're going to use is env. After that, we add the name of our source file, which is index.js. And then we add -o. Output is going to be in a folder like build and then index.js. Now, in order for this to work, we need to create this folder. Otherwise, we're going to get an error. So here in this project, I'm going to add a new folder, build. Now save the changes. So basically, the scripts that we define under the script section, we can run them using npm. So if we go to the terminal and run npm run Babel, this will execute this command on the terminal. It's faster and easier to type npm run Babel as opposed to this complex command. So back in the terminal, npm run Babel. Our code is compiled. Now it's stored in build/index.js. So let's have a quick look here. Build index.js. So note that in ES5, we don't have let or const. So our code is converted to something like this. We're using strict mode by default. That's a best practice. And const is replaced with var. Now, this is just the basic of Babel. There is way more to Babel. It really requires its own course. I just wanted you to get a taste of how it works. Obviously, one problem with this setup is that in package.json, we are compiling only index.js. Our application might have hundreds or thousands of files. So we don't want to repeat this for every file. That's where we use Webpack. So with Webpack, we're going to get all our JavaScript files and put them in a bundle. However, before putting these files in a bundle, we're going to run each file through Babel. And that's what you're going to see in the next lecture.